move on. The president-elect's guest list includes some of the world's wealthiest businessmen, men and women: Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos. We've talked about that. Many others are expected to be in attendance as well.
So here to talk about that is Northwestern University professor Harry Kramer. He's also an executive partner with Madison Dearborn Partners here in Chicago. Talk about that influence that presumably these business leaders want to have over the president and perhaps get some favor by being there, giving a lot of money to the campaigns.
Sure. Hello. Well, I think just given the amount of uncertainty that's going on, I think these folks are just trying to make sure they stay close enough to what's going on to figure out what the impact could be on their business. You know, what could happen given tariffs? What could happen if there's a lot of spending and that increases inflation or interest rates? So I think trying to get an inside seat to what's going on, I think is really, really critical to these people, because there is, let's face it, there's a high level of uncertainty as to what's going to happen on so many fronts.
Harry, when you get an individual, when it gets so close to the seat of power, during an occasion like this, do you go to business? You kind of leave that alone, you revisit it the next time you come around, or do you seize the moment? Talk to me about that dynamic.
Well, I'm sort of biased. I think we're in the world's greatest country. So having an opportunity to go to inauguration, which when I was the CEO of Baxter, I had the opportunity to do that during the Bush administration. I mean, it really is an amazing occasion. I mean, talk about history in the making. So I always felt that, to be proud to be an American, it's a fantastic place to be and an amazing thing. But I think some of these folks, because they are very concerned, just given some of the uncertainty, that yes, they're there for the inauguration, but it's how will this impact my business? And the potential to impact your business is very, very high. Depending on what happens, what could tariffs do to my business? How much of the business or my manufacturing I'm doing outside of the country will I be forced to bring into the country? So, I mean, I guess I would summarize it as a much, much higher level of uncertainty than any administration change I've seen in the last 40 years. That adds a lot of pressure to it, I'm sure.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason why Jeff Bezos really kind of spun on his heels. I mean, he sparred with Donald Trump during his first presidential term, and this time here he is, front and center, wanting to be in with the in crowd.
Yeah, well, personally, I always find this to be a little crazy. All right, I mean, we live in a world where somebody says they believe in something, and then they can go 180 degrees different. That some people look at that very differently. So I'm a professor these days, and I teach values-based leadership. Some of this I find a little difficult to deal with, but it is what it is.
Harry, practicality is at the center of every businessman or woman. So, I mean, Jeff Bezos is thinking, Donald Trump's got a lot of followers. I own a company. I want these people to buy things from my company. So I'm going to get to know him better. We're going to work it out.
Sure. Oh, no, the logic of that is irrefutable, but you would have thought he would have thought about that when he made the comments that he made a year or two ago. I mean, I'm a big one in for consistency. That's all.
That is true. And reading the political tea leaves, right?
Right. Right. I mean,
well, and now he wants to go into space, right, with Blue Origin, so he wants to expand even further, Bezos.
Hey, I'm curious, so as you've kind of been saying, in this case, all these tech giants reached out to incoming President Trump. It'd be one thing if he reached to them and said, I need to talk to you, I want you to come here to Mar-a-Lago. They did the reach out. Can you talk, based on your background, of how that plays into the leverage of the way these relationships will play out in the coming weeks and months?
Honestly, I think that totally depends on the dynamics and on the people. Given the fact that, President Trump, has the ego he has, people coming down and being there and genuflecting there, I think that's a big deal for him. And I think a lot of these folks, as you said, they are concerned enough and worried enough, I better get on the inside track of this, or it could be very, very difficult for me and my company. It's just that I think a lot of us look at this from the outside and say, wait a minute, you said this a year ago and now you're doing this? So, I mean, I think some of these folks could lose a lot of credibility, but, they're scampering around to see what they can do to protect their business.
And they are front and center with Donald Trump's family today at this oath of office, which will be taking place in just moments from now. We're awaiting Melania Trump and, of course, Donald Trump to be introduced. And then Amy Klobuchar will give some remarks and a call to order.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, again, these are one of the most historic occasions. We're bringing in the president, and despite how one looks at one side of the process or the other, I mean, the fact that we can literally have a change in power from one administration to another in a peaceful way is one of the things that makes this country as great as it has for 249 years.
Give us your final 20 seconds here. You're a university professor. You're in the midst of, obviously, the comings and goings and the high tides and low tides of the business and economy. What do you think is going to happen here in the next 6 months, economy-wise?
Boy, I have to tell you, it's a little uncertain. A little bit depends, to be honest, on how many of the things he said, whether he'll actually do it or not. So, for example, when he says he's going to put in large tariffs, is that a positioning or is that something he's really going to do? If he really does that, the impact of tariffs will have a higher degree of importance to what happens to inflation, which will impact interest rates. And the one thing we all know right now is we're desperately trying to get inflation under control. And if we don't, that's going to have an impact on interest rates. They'll have impact on the market. So you almost have to ask yourself, how much is he serious about significantly increasing tariffs?
And how much
that will
is
have
blunder?
a significant impact on the economy.
We're going to thank you for your time, Northwestern University professor Harry Kramer. Very interesting stuff. Thank you so much and take care, sir.
Great to be with you.